Go. Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to yet another exciting edition of the IWFI series, put together by the Institute for Work and Family Integration, a research, educational, and advocacy organization in the front line of work and family issues, recognized as a distinguished family organization in Africa by the Secretary General of the United Nations in our 2018 report. The Institute for the last decade has advocated for family responsible policies in companies. Here we are with this pandemic and its novel opportunities as well as challenges. Living together in this period of the lockdown is a unique opportunity to grow in marital love and friendship. The marriage relationship team at the Institute has been studying trends and coping strategies in marriages during this COVID-19 lockdown, working from home with all the stress, anxiety, and worry over uncertainties. In this webinar series, we examine some of these new challenges and opportunities open to couples to grow in happiness as the country fights the coronavirus pandemic. We started with issues on stress and anxiety, identification and management. Then we zoomed into begin to be heard, effective communication, productivity at work when you're working from home with your spouse, working from home and your children, schooling from home, how to negotiate with the family. Today, we shall answer all the unanswered questions from our previous editions.
What now?
It teaches strategy and sustainability and corporate governance at the Lagos Business School and Strathmore Business School, Nairobi, Kenya. He is also the founding director of the School Sustainability Center. Join me to welcome Professor Chris Ogbeche. We also have one who is concerned about happiness, the founder of the Be Happy Foundation. She has an MBA from the USA, Barcelona, Spain, and a master's in applied philosophy and ethics from Strathmore University, Nairobi, Kenya. She's a senior lecturer at the Lagos Business School, where she conducts research and lectures on business ethics and sustainability. That's joined me to welcome Lady Rose Ogbeche. Now, to have a kind of intergenerational mix in the panel, we have one of the facilitators at the Institute's married couple relationship program. He's a married man of over 25 years experience, and he's a current alumni relations director at the Lagos Business School. That's welcome, Henry Ando. Of course, the landlords and landladies, our beloved founder and co-founder of the Institute for Work and Family Integration, Sir Charles and Mrs. Gloria Osezwa, certified marriage therapists who have been helping couples over the past decade to grow in happiness. Hey, panelists, you want to say hi to our audience?
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Wow, I can see the excitement in your voice, and we are ready to go, and we are in for a good time. So the ground rules remain. You post your questions in the Q&A section, and you can vote for the questions you prefer to be answered, to be given priority. This is after we're through with the session, we can use that to sign off. I am Charles Igbona, the Executive Secretary of the Institute for Work and Family Integration. I shall be your host. So the questions have been put into different categories: communication and conflict management, finance, sex, work, and others. So we go straight to the question. I'd like to begin with you, the Ogbeches. Yes, we start with communication and conflict management. Both, move on to the others. How do couples bond more during a lockdown? That's for you, Professor Ogbeche.
Yes, they say ladies first, so I'll allow the ladies to go first.
Okay, all right.
Thank you very much, Charles. During this time of lockdown, we have so much pressure on the family, on individuals. So we need to do certain things to bond. And one of the key things I want to suggest, or that we do as a family, is that first of all, we must pray together as a family. Then we try as much as possible to eat together. Make sure you have your meals together on the table, and during that time you have conversations. And then you have to try to have time to take walks together. Like in our estate now, most times you see two of us holding hands and walking in the estate, and people are looking at us. Before now, we were not doing that.
And saying the rosary as we take the walk. Huh? An opportunity to also say a rosary during that walk. But in addition to that, during this lockdown, you find that many of us are actually doing more work than we used to do before the lockdown. Because lockdown, you know, you get up, go through traffic, get to the office, you spend about 6 hours. But lockdown, you are stuck. You don't even know when you have put in 12 hours. So one of the things that you say is that you have to find a way of saying, when do I stop work? So that we can talk, or we can eat together, or we can even watch TV. I know that I watch action movie. She likes a home movie. We don't know how we do, whose channel to watch at any time. But the key thing is that I think this is a fantastic opportunity for couples to get together and rediscover themselves and rediscover their marriage.
Thank you very much. So I go on to Mrs. Gloria. One of the questions we have here is that, what if you have said all the nice things you know to your spouse to get him or her to do the right thing, but the fellow still doesn't respond? What do you do?
Thank you very much, Charles. I would say that you have to dialogue. Invite your spouse to the table, because it's important that you know why they are not responding. It is also important that you know how your spouse is wired emotionally, because you may think that you have been communicating, talking with him and telling him, but you are not, you don't know how his kind of person, you know, his temperament makes him to respond to those things. And unless you understand his emotional wiring, you cannot really get through to him. So that dialogue will help you to know, okay, so why is this not working? What do we need to do? And during that dialoguing, you have to make sure you are expressing your feelings and not going after him. So you express your feelings. Oh, honey, I wanted us, you know, to be able to do this. I would like to know what I need to do. You see, the focus is on what you have to do, not on you never respond to these things I have been telling you, I don't know what else to say. No, you express your feelings, because communication is based on feelings. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you very much. One of the members of the audience said to you, Sal Sezwa, that he missed the F and the D. He missed the F and the A of your FACE acronym in last week's webinar.
Okay, thank you, Charles. Let me repeat, the acronym was FACE, which says forgiveness, adaptation, adaptability, or adapt. So the A is adapt or adaptability, same thing. C is for communication, discuss issues. And of course, the E is empathy. Put yourself in the place of your spouse. So again, just like Gloria was just saying, you can communicate on that level of feeling. Your emotions can link.
Okay.
I hope I said it slowly enough. Okay.
No, you've done very well. I think he has taken notes now, because he has been expecting the answer. We go back to the Ogbeche. How do you reopen the channels of communication in a marriage, especially when the man doesn't want to talk or thinks he is okay, and he knows what he's doing?
I think the thing to do is to try to write a love letter to the man. I'm sure some people will say, oh, we don't write letters these days, but it's very, very powerful way of communicating. And in the love letter, what do you say? You first of all start by telling him how much you love him, how much you depend on him. Say all the sweet things that will melt his heart. After that, you can then mention the problem, and then let him know how you feel about the problem. And then finally, you round up by saying, please, can he give you a time when you two of you can sit down and discuss? There's nobody that will hear sweet things, oh, you are wonderful, oh, I love you, that will say no one to talk to you. So if you're finding it difficult to talk to your man, write a sweet love letter to him, and then tell him all the good things, how you appreciate him and all of that, and then how the problem makes you feel, and then asking him to kindly give you a time for both of you to sit down and discuss.
In addition to that, she can actually prepare the husband's best meal and serve it unexpectedly. And while he's eating the meal and she's serving him, of course, he has an open heart, happy mind. You can then chip in that conversation to start the discussion.
Lovely, lovely. Henry, we've not heard your voice. Let's come to you now. How do you convince your spouse to foster piety among the children? This is an interesting one, Henry. Unmute your mic. Henry, unmute your mic.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. My apologies. Okay, so I don't know who's asking this question because it just says, how do you motivate your spouse? So I don't know whether it's coming from the lady or from the guy, or I don't know. But I think my first answer will be example. There is power in showing children example of the things they need to do. So rather than convincing your spouse to foster piety among the children, I think your example of showing piety or doing acts of piety is an important factor. I mean, the only person we can really, really, truly change is ourselves. So let's start from you. Give examples of piety. I mean, so you know those things that you could do in the house that has to do with piety. Like Rose Obetia said, praying together as a family, saying the grace after meal, saying the rosary. These days that we're under lockdown, attending mass online together. Those things that you're doing are examples that the children will see. So sometimes our example is important, and then by the time our spouse see the examples that we're giving, they're also prompted to do the same thing. So my response will be that it's very important that we show the power of example. So we do those things, pray with the children. If it is a woman, I'm sure it's likely to be a woman that is asking this question. It's very difficult to get men to do things that they don't want to do. But one of the key things that you can do is actually do those things, and then they are inspired to join you when they are doing it, once you're doing it, and they see the good and the benefit of it. So pray with the children, do some acts of piety with them. The things you do in the house, maybe you have a crucifix there, the picture of Our Lady, attending mass online. Those are examples of piety that you are showing, and the children will benefit from it rather than trying to convince your spouse. But like I said, if you do those things as well, your spouse is likely to join you in fostering those things, seeing that they are good things that the children should learn. Thank you.
Thank you. That's talking about some non-verbal means of communication. That's an interesting dimension. So, Mrs. Gloria, this one I'll throw it to you. I'll throw it at you. The question goes on. Right for a wife to use the husband's weakness against him whenever there's a misunderstanding between them. Abba, madam.
Well, I think the first thing I have to say is no. It is not proper, because we are supposed to help our spouses to overcome their weaknesses. If we that are supposed to be the support to help them, in their area of weaknesses, to strengthen them, we are the ones now using it against them, it doesn't augur well for the relationship. So as a spouse, if our spouse should, we should know what our spouses, what their, difficulties are. Our first thing is to find out, how can I be...
Gloria, I think you should speak louder.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I was saying, I said, it is our responsibility in our relationship to help our spouses to overcome their weaknesses. So the answer is, you don't use your spouse's, weaknesses against them. You should find out, you should ask yourself, how can I be part of the solution here? What can I do as a lover, a woman that loves her husband, that wants the best for her husband, that wants the husband to be the true man he's meant to be, the best version of himself? That should guide us in not saying, or even if the opportunity offers itself for the man to maybe show that weakness, is to reinforce the positive of him, and let him feel that togetherness. We are in this together. Today we may be fighting, but hey, let's deal with what is today's business. Instead of bringing yesterday or looking at your person, let's address the issues instead of addressing the personality. Thank you, Charles.
Wow, thank you. I'll still remain with you, Sezwas. This one will go to you, Sir Charles. How can a husband learn to listen to the wife who likes to talk a lot? What I mean is, many times when my wife wants to tell me something, she likes to explain everything in detail and uses a lot of words. I usually understand what she wants to say in the first few sentences, but she still would like to say it all the way she likes to.
Well, you see, I took away my glasses just to address the subject. I think whoever is asking the question, Charles, is a very lucky man. Because there are many husbands that want their wife to tell them a whole lot more about what's happening in their life. It's an opportunity. Now, he is also gifted that he understands very quickly. But you see, that is really where they complement each other. He should take advantage of it. The wife's ability or readiness to explain or to be very expressive, to understand her. It may just be her temperament or her character, the way she's wired, just using Gloria's words. So he has to understand that and learn to live with it. Because see, marriage is about give and take. There's no perfect union or where the couples are what exactly you expected. No. You have to give and take. Your wife wants to talk to you, learn to listen and pay attention. That way you understand her, you understand her temperament, and you make the sacrifices that are necessary for your marriage to be stronger. Otherwise, if you're just exactly what you wanted, it says 2 sentences and you are okay, well, your house will be very quiet most of the time. So it's not very good. But also, you find that there may be a whole lot she's keeping. So in listening and in paying attention, you honor her, you respect her, and she will come back to appreciate you and love you the more. So it's an opportunity to grow and strengthen your bonds of friendship and love. So it's a give and take. There's no way you can say you are loving when you don't make sacrifice. It's a very small place to give you an opportunity to make sacrifice as a proof of your love for her. It's a natural gift. So use it and you will all be happy together.
All right, so you count yourself lucky. Your program is actually a blessing, as we have seen from Mr. Charles Oseswa. So that brings me to you, Henry. This one is quite peculiar. To say, how can a husband explain to his wife that is faithful in their marriage when the wife keeps on accusing him of infidelity without any proof?
Okay, so I know that this borders a lot on the issue of trust, and I think from my experience as well, trust with a woman is a delicate thing. If you perchance lose it, it's very difficult to gain it back. So you will have to work very hard in gaining it back. So one of the key things that I say, and I have always done, is that aspect that the couples here have already explained: communication. You still have to keep on convincing your spouse about your faithfulness. And more importantly is the things you do. The things you do are very, very key. So for instance, when you are secretive, you don't tell your spouse where you're going to when you're going out, you don't tell the ins and outs of your activities and things, then they can get very suspicious. Mind you, women have very strong instinct. I don't know why God did it that way, but they can discern and catch something that those of us that are men, even when we are sitting close to the thing, we might not see it. So there are certain relationships or friendships that we have that a woman will look at it and immediately can tell where this thing could eventually go to. But a man is just there. He has no problem. He doesn't even sense that there is an issue at all. So it's a trust thing. So you have to win that trust back. And like I said, first, you have to keep communicating. You have to be transparent in the things that you do. All right. You have to be as available as possible because anyway, these days now that you are at home, even while you're at home, if you are secretive, for instance, one important thing that women, I don't know, I should say they should keep away from, but they don't keep away from often, is the phones of the men, our phones. So your phones at this time should be available to your wife so that she sees that there is nothing. So by the time you are exhibiting this transparency and telling her how much you love her and still doing those nice things that will convince her, she will be convinced and be won over. But you have to keep doing it because once an element of trust has been lost, it's very, 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 very difficult to get it back. And you see from examples, even, I mean, not couples, not married couples, you have seen some bands, some music bands, ventures that have gone up because of issues of trust. So it's a delicate thing and we have to take it as delicately as it is. So communicate, keep convincing your wife, be available as much as possible and try to win that trust back and be as transparent as possible. If you do these things, I'm sure that those indications or those things that she feels will be melted, and you have to love her as much as possible. This way that you can win back that trust that you probably have lost. Charles.
Yeah, I like the one of the transparency of the phone. So no need to use your fingerprint, thumbprint, iris, and even tongue print to lock the phone. So have it open. So I go to the Ogbeches. How do a family maintain joy, peace, and harmony when discussing their imminent problems during this COVID-19 period?
This is a period that many families are living in fear. Why? Not just because of health. Many people are afraid that they might lose their jobs. Many people are afraid that the income that they used to may not be as much as it used to be, even if they retain their job. So this fear is genuine. But unfortunately, this is the times we are living in. So families have to recognize that. And I think it's time for a husband and wife to sit down and discuss the issues. First, if they've not been planning together or even sharing information about their income, this is the time to talk about it. This is what we're now getting as a result of COVID. It's probably less than what we used to get. That means somewhere along the line, they have to make some adjustments in terms of standard of living. What can they give up? What can they give? So it is not for the man to decree, because my salary is now 50%, no more this, no more that. This is the time actually to get the wife to do more of the particular about in a gentle and respectful tone. It's not harsh tone, because this time is called for togetherness. But most importantly, we have to pray over it. It's time to pray over it. The power of prayer is important at this stage. And as we discuss these things, it's also time to show more love and understanding. Because after COVID-19, what are we going to face? We don't know. But we should be prepared to face these realities as good Catholic. God may eventually overcome them. I think Rose has more to say about this.
It is also a time to show appreciation for little services. For instance, if your wife has served you a nice meal, why don't you say, thank you, darling, this is really nice. It's a time to pay compliments, it's a time to say also, I'm sorry, because sometimes people find it difficult to say, I'm sorry, but those are magic words that can turn things around. So during this time, there's a lot of pressure. And this is a time we have to bring out those qualities, those good qualities that we have enough. Thank you, darling. I love you. And then, showing appreciation for little acts of service, no matter how little it is. We must not take each other for granted. And then watching the words you certain words, you cannot take them back. So you have to think before you speak. And remember that the person you're speaking to is your spouse, and you need to love that person.
All right, so we'll go to Mrs. Gloria. How do you deal with a spouse that enjoys doing things without talking to you about them?
Well, the first thing to say regarding that is that marriage is a joint venture. So they both have to understand that as a very, very fundamental, statement or fact to their relationship. That marriage is a joint venture, and the ability to carry each other along is a sign of unity in the family. So having said that, I believe another thing that should be done by whoever is asking this question is to take time to know your spouse, because that is why knowing is so key. Knowing doesn't mean, oh, I have met the person and I have married the person. You continue to know your spouse. You continue to understand their background, where they came from, how things were. Because your spouse, your wife may have come from, a family where maybe the mother was disadvantaged and, by the father, maybe financially or otherwise. And she swears to herself, look, I'm not going to subject myself to the rule of a man, because I don't like, or I didn't like the way my mother was treated, growing up. So with that kind of background, definitely the tendency is for this to happen. So because of that, if you keep knowing and you understand this for a fact, you can then invite your spouse, because dialogue is always the key. You have to speak. You have to talk about issues. So you have to make them understand that was their life. Now, this is your life together and how you want it to pan out. And once that security is felt by the holding spouse, you find that there will be more willingness to share.
Okay, I still remember with you, your says was Sir Charles, is it possible for the family to achieve harmony and progress without having definitive plan on how to get on with specific family issues, like responding to things as they come up in the family?
Well, to answer your question, I'll just say, I mean, there's a popular saying that says, those who fail to plan to fail. I don't know in marriage an alternative to planning together as a couple. When you react, if you wait till it happens and you deal with it as it happens, there's a 50-50 chance. Planning helps to improve your odds of success. It brings the issues forward and you are proactive, as it were. So my advice is, well, you have a desired outcome. Plan to achieve it. Once you've agreed on the steps you need to take, your chances of success are higher. If you do not plan, you have absolutely no control. It's going to come on you, and well, you deal with it as best as you can, but there's no certainty about the outcome. So my advice really is, or my answer to your question, I don't know of any to planning. So plan together as a couple and work at achieving the desired outcome or the objective, the goal you expect. Okay, I think that's the only way I know. And I think that works for business and it works in our lives. The alternative could be disaster.
Okay.
Even your spouse's ability to follow you. I think maybe I should make the other point, Charles, sorry. Remember, as husband and wife, you are leaders. Leadership is about setting the goal for your followers to follow. If you have no plan, people can follow you. So your spouse will be confused. The children will not know what their parents are doing. Maybe it doesn't affect them, but at least between you and your spouse, there's a need for clarity on where you are going and some agreed strategy on how to get there. So planning. So be proactive so that you have a greater chance of success in your marriage. Okay.
Okay, so Clara, let me stay with you one more time. The extroverts are the hardest hit in this pandemic. What are your suggested activities for such persons to avoid visiting aggression on the introverted spouse for whom this period is bliss?
Thank you, Charles. I would say that everybody has their fair chance, even during this COVID-19. Then for the extroverts, that they are restless people. You have to understand that, they are emotional setting. They are restless, they are very active, they are talkative, they are, just naming all those, activities, towards the outside. But what you can do is for both of you to agree on how you want to spend the time. For that individual, your extroverted, spouse, you can organize games. You play games together. You can even, practice karaoke in your house. You can play music and you dance because they love activity. So get out of your own blissfulness for the love of your spouse and dance with her. So at the end of, after that, you can also have your quiet time. So you agree on, let's do this, let's play, let's go and bake a cake, let's do whatever activity it is that, we excite them because you love this individual, you want them to be happy. Because once they are happy, they will, they will flip to you and they will, do whatever it is that you ask them to. So you apply that, you work with them to achieve their own joy, and they will allow you to have your peace as well. So it is shared time. It's true, because you cannot be at one extreme and the other one, at the other extreme and say, please, please, please don't disturb me, and this is my time. okay, please, you can do whatever you like. There's nothing like that in relationship, in marriage. You don't do whatever you like. You do what makes us happy. And you know you're in this business for happiness. You want to make your spouse happy. Whatever makes your spouse happy is what you struggle to do, and vice versa. So you play games, you dance, you sing, you organize the children to act, drama and whatever it is. You will see the warmth in your home, and you will see the love that will radiate among all of you. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you. So I go to the Ogbeches. This one has been reoccurring. Is it good for a married man to keep female friends and always chat and sometimes hang out in the night with her? Oh yeah, talk. Say your own.
It is definitely not good for a man to keep a female friend because that will lead to occasion of sin. The founder of Opus Dei, St. Joseph Maria, has said that people need to flee from the occasion of sin, because you cannot say you are too old to be tempted. You cannot say you are too, I love my wife so much, I cannot be tempted. So you must run away from it. We have to live chastity in our marriage, which means you need to love your spouse and your spouse alone. So the moment you are married, you need to cut off all other friendships. Your friends must belong to the family. So whatever friend you have should be a friend of your husband and a friend of the wife, not for a man to take a lady out. If the person is a professional colleague, there has to be professional distance. You cannot take your professional colleague out for a night out or something like that. I think it's a very, very bad habit. And it will communicate bad message to other people, because it communicates infidelity. People begin to say, oh, this man is not faithful. You can begin to have an affair with the person and all of that. So I do not encourage it at all.
Yes, I stand by what Rosa said. At the same time, the answer is not that you cannot say hello to. Most importantly, know that it's a professional relationship where you talk, you work in the office, and you attend meetings. But to go out with a female friend because it's a colleague or somebody outside is against your marital vows. Go back and remember, on that day, at that altar, you decided that 1 + 1 were 1, and not half, not 2, not 3. So that bond to always be lived, not just said. So doing things together, and if you have friends that are opposite sex, bring them in as family friends so that you do things and they realize that it is the family friend, not just a friend of the husband. Thank you very much.
That's a good one. So the next one is a bit difficult one. So I'll throw it to you, Henry. In where the man wants to adopt and has discussed with the wife, but the wife is not open to it, rather talks about IVF. How do you manage or cope with these positions?
Okay, thank you, Charles. So I think like Chris and Rose have said, and Charles and Gloria have said, we need to continually discuss, and there has to be a congruence in what we agree. We're a team, we're a squad. So whatever decision we take, we have to take it together because it's the family that is at stake. So I think if IVF, adoption, so IVF for me, from my experience, and mostly because I'm also a Christian, it's off because it's against the very tenet of marriage. There is a procreative and unitive aspect of sex that IVF takes out of it completely. So it's a sin. I was trying to look at a few things when preparing for this, and what had come up is that there are a number of things that are dangerous from IVF. First and foremost, there is the issue of abortion that happens with the embryos that are not used. There is the issue of if the husband's sperm has been used for this. The coming together is outside the marital union. There's the issue of dignity for the child. Call them test tube child. Who's the child's father? And most of the sperm that are used in the IVF are done from masturbation, which is a sin. So there's a cacophony of things around IVF that are not good. And I think one of the things that the spouse should do is research on this and be able to convince the spouse that, look, this is not something we should go into because there's a lot of issues around it that are negative in themselves. But having said that, adoption is also has its issue. I think it has been widely accepted in the Western world, but in our climate, there's still some stigma around it. So husband and wife have to sit down and agree. If there's a proposal you have and your wife is not comfortable in it, if you can't convince her to be comfortable about it, then you can't go on. You guys are in it together. So there has to be an acceptance of what has been done. Like I said, even in businesses, if there is no congruence of interest and views, there's a lot of scattering that happens. So remember, the most important thing is you and your spouse. The most important thing is you and your spouse. Even if you have children, whether you like it or not, tomorrow those children will grow up and leave you, and you will be left, you and your spouse. So the work should be concentrating on you and your spouse. I think Sir Chris Ogbeche will have that experience now. I don't think any of their children are living with them right now. Neither is Charles or Gloria. If their main focus has not been their relationship between the two of them, there will be a lot of problems. You know, there are a lot of divorces happen these days because couples have been living through children and for children. And then when the children go away, there's a lot of problem. So whether adoption, fine, if the woman is not comfortable about it because she probably carries more stigma around this than the man. If she's not comfortable about it, it's not something you should force. Pray about this, talk more about this, and come to a decision on what you will do. But for me, going forward, IVF is a no-no. But if you can convince your spouse about adoption, remember, you are parents, whether you have children or not, you are parents. Once we are married, we are potential parents. And there are lots of children out there who need parenting, whose parents are not there. So it doesn't even have to be adoption. Is there a young fellow who is your brother's son or your sister's son who is not being well taken care of that you can take up and train? And I have seen not once, not twice, where couples have taken up a child or two to come and live with and train them, and then God blesses them with a child of their own, because God has seen that you can do it and you can do it well. So I think that's the advice. So like the Ogbeches and the Osezwas have said, keep talking. You have to continuously talk about things. And then in doing this, you'll be able to resolve whatever issues that arise. Charles.
Thank you. I'll just take one more question from the communication and conflict management so I can move on to finance. Mrs. Gloria, this is for you. What is the fourth apocalypse in communication that make or mar marriages, as mentioned by Mr. Osezwa, right, as you mentioned?
Thank you,
but you have to speak louder because I think you are far from the mic.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Charles. I don't know which of them they were able to catch. So I will just give them. You have criticism, you have, defensiveness, you have, contempt, and of course, stonewalling. So if they had gotten the initial three, stonewalling, that is the shutdown, emotional shutdown of your spouse. When they no longer react to you, respond to you, they don't want to hear. They are overwhelmed. So you find they are no longer, with you emotionally. So what happens is, at that point, you have what you call timeout. I want to take 20. That is 20 minutes, and to suit yourself. So before you can come back to that, discussion, just let your spouse know, right now I'm overwhelmed and I would like to, take 20 minutes or 30 minutes, however it takes, how long it takes me to suit myself. If you are somebody who is into spirituality, you can meditate to help yourself, or you go for a walk, or you just take deep breaths, so as, in and exhale, for 20 minutes, as long as it takes you, so you can recover yourself before you go back, to your conversation. That it shouldn't be used as an escape, to just avoid, talking with your spouse.
Thank you. That brings us to money matters, finance. I'd like to begin with you, Chairman. Is money matters. How much does financial independence of each spouse contribute to harmony within the marriage?
Charles, when you changed my title, it became clear it was a hard question. Now it's obvious why I had to be addressed as chairman in this particular case. But, whether financial independence or joint account in a family brings, or in marriage brings harmony, there's no yes and no answer. It depends. Let me answer it this way. I'll take it back. Harmony is a consequence of order. Money in marriage or in family is to enable husband and wife achieve some specific objectives. Marriage specifically is to enable unity, strengthen their bonds of friendship. It also helps to increase dependence and vulnerability. Henry used the word trust. The money is a threat to build trust among the couple and help them. And because you trust each other, you have greater vulnerability. So you know each other more. I know you got my back. So this is supposed to help marital unity. Now, so let's look at what financial independence or joint account helps you or does in marriages. And why I said it doesn't really matter. Why I can say it doesn't matter. It depends on what you are using the independence for. The challenge with financial independence in marriage is that more often than not, the spouse becomes proud. He could use the money to oppress the other spouse that has less or that needs money at a particular time. And it becomes a time to keep secret. When Professor Chris Ogbeche and Rose talked to us just now, they were talking about budgeting. That's another way also to deal with it. It's a time for openness, transparency in marriage, in financial, in the family income. My money, I always say this, my money, Gloria's money, is the family's money. It's just like in my businesses. It doesn't matter which department is generating income. We recognize it, but it goes to the finance and accounts department. They look after the accounts. Of course, there are administrators. I think the same way we should see money in marriages. My money, her money, is our money. It's for the upliftment of the couple or the spouses and the members of the family. It's to strengthen unity and bond and to encourage that vulnerability and trust. Now, if you use money contrary to these objectives, then financial independence is not good for your family, cannot bring harmony. Couples have tried different ways to overcome all these risks. One, of course, is to have a joint account. Joint account in itself, yes, it forces two of you to come to the table and plan and budget. And at that stage, it doesn't really matter who executes. So you are an errand person. At that stage, you are running an errand on behalf of the family. So you can call it subsidiarity. I am representing my spouse wherever I am. And I think that is the essence of what money really should be in a marriage. Charles, is a subject, this you call me a big title today, the tendency to spend more time discussing it. I think I should stop.
Okay. Still on money matters, I go to you, Gweches, in the business school. Why is it always the case that a man's money is for the family, but the woman's money is for her first and may consider the husband if she pleases? Prof, why?
I have had ladies ask me that question during pre-marriage class, and I think that is a very wrong thing to say. It's a wrong mindset. Your 1 + 1, like Susan said, 1 + 1 is 1. So my money is our money. His money is our money. So we have to come into marriage with that mindset that our money is for us. Those days, yes, when the man, we know that the man is the head of the family, and we know the man is meant to be the one that will provide for the family. But then, those days, women were not working, so they were in the house raising the children. So the man had to do everything. But now we know that most families now need the 2 incomes, and we have to be transparent, like Charles was just saying. We have to be transparent. We have to have commitment to that marriage, because if you begin to say my money, his money is our money, it shows the lack of commitment in that marriage. It also shows the lack of love. So what you can do is to sit down and allocate responsibilities depending on who earns more. If the wife is the sole breadwinner, he has to carry out more responsibilities in the house. So let me allow my husband to chip in something as well.
And sometimes these things happen when the wife feels a little bit insecure. She now starts saying, let me keep some money for the rainy day. I don't know when this is going to happen. If you said these days, maybe we are lucky we've been married for a long time, just like Charles and Gloria. A lot of marriages don't even make it to their first anniversary. And if you check very well, one of the major factors is finance. Communication is about finance. So this issue of finance should not be taken lightly. If we start compartmentalizing whose money is it, the chances are that the marriage will suffer. But most importantly, so when you have a marriage, you also think of the children. And for most parents, they want their children to be better than them in so many ways. That means you have to plan the children's education in addition to how the children will also live in the house. So the issue of, is it her money or is it my money? Not arise. That Henry said, you are my wife. That vow I took on that day, and that marriage vow, still, so always reassuring, I love you. So when that happens, the woman will not be scared that, maybe tomorrow, so I should keep my money. But also, going back to what Charles said, that planning together means if we want to do this, how much is it going to cost? Where will the money come from? The children must have good education, they must go through this, they must go through that. Where will the money come from? Eventually, it's the money that both of them create. So I advise young couples, please don't ever say the man's money is his own, he should bring it, and the woman's money is her own to keep. So please note, financial issues are very, very, very delicate and could lead to wrong decisions. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you. So still on money matters, so Osezwa, just a very quick one. What's your take on this? Do you advise couples to have a joint bank account? Then, okay, next one is it compulsory?
Well, I think this is very related to the last question, Charles.
Yes, yes.
Financial autonomy and joint account. And I'll give almost an identical answer. Is the objective purpose? Should they have a joint account? Not necessarily. Depending on how you manage the family income. Do they need, what was the other part? Joint? Is it compulsory? No, the answer is no. It's how you manage the family income. It's the same answer. The objective purpose. If there's enough trust between the couples and there's enough transparency and they can build around that a budget, some instrument that helps them to know what is happening to their family income. So that's fine. So you are using the money for the purpose for which it's been given by God. And I think that's really the essence here. If it helps, if it unites your family, strengthens your friendship and bond, manage it the way you see fit. Because we all have different financial personalities. There's no one size fits all. There are some who may be spendthrift. There are some who are like monks. They like to look at money and so on and so forth. So really it depends on the personality of the couple and what they use money for. But a plan or a budget forces everybody to work to do what the money is intended for. So if you like, a family budget helps to introduce discipline into expenditure process, just like in our daily lives. So you don't need a joint account. It's not compulsory, but use money, whether it's from you or from your spouse, for the benefit and unity purpose of your marriage, of the family.
Thank you very much, Sir Charles. So let's talk about sex now. Let's go to the second section. I'll start with you, Henry. How do you improve your sex life in a Christian way?
Okay, thank you, Charles. How do you improve your sex life in a Christian way? Okay, I think first and foremost is to pray about it. As absurd as it probably sounds, because people think sex is not something that a subject matter that we should talk to God about. We often think that it's just about our finances and about our children and about our difficulties and things. If there's difficulty in sex, then it is important that you pray about it. So first, my first advice is pray about it and tell God, okay, what challenges you are having in this. But secondly is going back again to what I had said before and what all the other panelists have reiterated. Communication, communication, communication. So you have to also talk about sex, okay? So we don't talk about sex. And I don't mean, okay, some of us are good. We talk to our children about sex because we have been advised that it's better to talk to them at a certain age about sex. But for you and your spouse, you have to talk about sex because it's an integral part of your relationship as a husband and a wife, okay? And God put sex there, not only for procreation also, but for the good of the couple. So we have to talk about it. Talk about it in which way? How I feel about it, how I want it, so you have to talk now. For the women folks, look, sorry, you guys have a complicated system and it's almost impossible for a man to understand and know the entire system. So if you don't tell him how he feels or how you feel it should be, then he won't know. He will just carry on doing what he thinks is the best way to do. So you have to tell him how it is. If your sexual relationship is difficult or painful, you have to let him know so that you have a different way of doing it. And secondly, I always like to give this analogy when I talk about this to couples, that look, the man and a woman are made up differently, all right? So let me use the analogy of a car. You know, we have automatic cars and then we have manual cars. So the man is like an automatic car, all right? When it comes to the issue of sexual relationship, while the woman is like a manual. So all a man does is he starts the car, puts it in drive, and he's off. Meanwhile, the wife who is there is manually operated. So she has to step on the, she has to step on the change gear from gear 1, change to gear 2, change to gear 3, and then change to gear 4 for full speed. But then the man who is an automatic has already reached the destination, and you have left the woman. So for men, you have to slack a little. You have to carry the woman along in order for her to also enjoy the sexual relationship. So I know there is, so hugging your wife, kissing your wife, telling her a lot of sweet things to prepare her for the sexual act are important things that you should do if you're a man in terms of this, all right? So those are very, very, very important things that can help in terms of our relationship as husband and wife. And then let me just go on. So we always talk about improving our sex life. Look, our standard for sex can't be what the nonsense that is produced in Hollywood and on TV. Those are aberrations. They are not true. So they can't use those as standard. And remember that our sexual relationship cannot all the time be 10/10. So sometimes it can be 2/10. Sometimes it can be 5/10. Sometimes it can be 8/10. All right. But we manage them as they go along, and to try very much. To talk about this. When you talk about this, it will greatly improve your sexual life. So it's not cast in stone. There are many things that you can do, but if you talk about them, you discuss them in a smart and timely way, then those things can be solved. Now, when I say talk about them, I'm not saying talk about sex when you are in the process, because that just spoils the air. So please, for men, be a bit creative. If you, sometimes it's nice early in the morning before you go, have a quickie and then take off. When you're in the office, prepare your wife's mind that, look, sweetheart, tonight is the night, or tonight is the night. When you said that to her through your phone, she's waiting, and then she's getting ready, such that when you come, it now becomes fantastic for both of you. So pray about it. Talk about it, plan towards it, and have once in a while those surprise ones that go on and off. And for the women, I'd like to advise again, when I relocated for a short while to Ghana, when I got to Ghana, I remember Charles and Gloria, my mentor, when it comes to marriage. And I remember Charles had said one time when she was going to get married to Gloria that she did not want to marry her mother. She didn't want to marry a wife that would be like a reminder of her mother, who's always putting on a wrapper in the house and a housewife, so to speak. So he would like to be married to his girlfriend. So one thing that women should do is, look, keep enticing your husbands, all right? So always look very nice in the house. This can put the man in very good mood. And then men, if you don't like the kind of dresses that they're wearing at home, go out and buy some nice things that will make them look quite nice for the wives. And then so you see those things, and then those things put you in that mood of the sexual act. But please pray to God about it and talk about it as much as possible, and those issues can be resolved. Thank you, Charles.
Yeah, Harry, still on you. Maybe you just handle this too. Explain what foreplay means from a Christian perspective. If you can be brief about this, because we need to move.
Okay, all right. So I think I've touched about it. So
okay.
Call your wife beforehand. You're on your way home, and tonight is the night, sweetheart. I'm going to make you my woman again tonight. I mean, that's putting her in the mood. Foreplay has to do with kissing your wife, hugging your wife, touching her in those delicate places, preparing for those things. Not that, like I said, don't be an automatic car. So change your car to a manual car so that both of you can put gear 1, gear 2, gear 3, and then put finally gear 4, and you are off. But foreplay, so I garnered also from experience and from reading that sometimes women like to be touched in those sensitive places, do those touching, don't just go straight into the sexual act. So those foreplays, kissing, hugging, petting her. In fact, a nice massage will put your wife in a very prepared place for the sexual act. So try the massage therapy. It's actually quite good. You can give your wife a massage before you go on to the sexual act. Charles.
Thank you. Thank you, Henry. Okay, so for the wife that always remains the girlfriend, I come to you now. What could be responsible when couples who are yet to have kids do not desire each other sexually?
Well, thank you, Charles. You know, this marriage union is more than just children. Children. Kids are products of love. So that means you have to make sure that you express your love for your spouse, because it is as a result of this your interaction that gives, you know, just listening to what Harry has just said. You know, you have to make sure you build your love map. You build your love map, you build, you know, by having a, you know, love cross puzzle. That means you go outside of yourself, out of your way, to ensure that you are able to relate to your husband or your wife. You know, do those things that make them happy. Create occasions that allow you to interact, because that, you know, communion comes. You know, it comes because you have prepared. You have prepared for it. And if it pleases God, He blesses that, you know, love making that results in children. So you cannot say, okay, yeah, so I have to get mine. You know, I'm about to have children. I should have children. So my husband has to ensure. It's not that automatic. It's not something you switch on and switch off. There has to be a relationship. You have to develop that relationship. You have to grow in bonding. You have to create opportunity for you people to actually thrive as a couple and discover more about each other. And you want to start having things in common that you laugh about, that you know, cheer about. You find that falling on me and falling on you around this, you know, the internal, you know, person, without having to say, okay, it's time to go and have a child. No, it doesn't work like that. So you make sure you develop your love map, your crossword puzzle, doing something good for each other, and that kind of, you know, helps the emotional relationship, you know, to thrive and attract you to each other. So the last objective, you know, can be achieved from the first one. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you. So let's leave the matters of the other room, the bedroom things, and go and attend to some external customers. And I'll come to you, the Ogbeches. How do you handle parental and extended family interference in marriage? The spouse taking all advice from his parents without consenting with his wife.
I think that parents must not interfere in their children's marriages, and they only interfere when there's a problem. This means that somebody must, you know, go out and speak to them about something, or maybe they have noticed that something is not going well in the marriage before they try to, you know, want to interfere. But I think it is important that couples learn to, you know, we're talking about communication, dialogue, to sit down and sort out their problems. When one spouse feels that she is not being listened to or he is not being listened to, the person will now seek a third party outside to complain to or to tell the story to. And that's when you see that parents now interfere. But mind you, parents are very emotional. They are attached to their children. So sometimes they find it difficult to be objective. That's why it's important that couples sit down and have a dialogue. We're talking about this so crucial in marriage relationship. Discuss it. Each party must learn to listen to each other, Because sometimes the party may just block off. You're not listening. The wife wants to speak to you. She has something bothering her, but you're not listening to her. If you're not listening to her, she needs somewhere to vent out. She needs to have somebody to talk to. What does she do? Well, she then goes to her parents or her friends. And sometimes the friends will give wrong advice. So it's better to go to the parents. And what happens? The other spouse will now begin to say, oh, they're interfering in my marriage. So the important thing is find a way to dialogue and discuss your problems. Make your parents and your friends not to interfere in your marriage each time they come. So don't even tell them anything. But if you don't have a good home, there's no way that people will not now begin to interfere.
Okay, what at the time of courtship, many people don't spend some time to understand the feelings of the people they want to marry. So, but even when they get married, that investing in understanding feelings is critical. But let's not forget that even the issue of father-in-law, mother-in-law, and wife is in the Bible. That the wahala that mother-in-laws bring is also that what wives don't like. Women tend to listen to their own parents. Men also tend to listen to their parents because they brought them up and they don't believe their parents will give them wrong advice. But the moment a husband and wife get married, remember I say the man leave his father, his mother, and rejoins to his wife and they become one. It means that everything you are going to do with your wife, you now have to find a way of dialoguing and understanding. It does not mean you cannot fight. I always tell couples that when they fight, they should hold hands. If you're holding hands when you fight, means you cannot punch each other. But the key thing is that it means once you're holding hands, you are touching, you can then talk, communicate. It's that lack of communication that makes people run to go and listen to their parents. We are now parents of young people who are married. And we should, in a way, find a way of saying how we should less interfere, but more of advice. Giving advice from a Christian point of view, from a spiritual point of view, advice that is meant to help them to have successful marriage. So when we say don't listen to parents, it does not mean that we cannot get interesting advice. Because sometimes parents, we are grandparents now, can see the way our children and their spouses are dealing with their children, who are our own grandchildren, and we can be in a position to advise them because we also brought them up on that right path. But most importantly, husband and wife should learn to communicate, discuss issues, and don't bring in third parties into it. Because at the end of the day, as much as possible, it is your own dream, your own vision that you've put together, and you have to live it out. Nobody else can live your dream for you. Charles.
Thank you very much. So that brings us to the end of this program, but I have one more for Sir Charles who says, well, what happens to couples who at this period have come to realize that they have little in common as couples? Wow.
Now, this is a sneaky one, though, but I think you are talking about issues of compatibility. I like to say that compatibility is not a prerequisite for a happy and successful marriage. Success and happiness in marriage is dependent on your ability to build common interests, shared interests, things you enjoy together. This you can develop. So when you say, I find during lockdown, I realize we don't have too many things in common. Oh, fantastic. You have a unique opportunity. It's like having a clean slate to work with. So my dear, I don't know whether it's the man or the woman that has raised this issue, You have an opportunity to now sit down and identify those things that your spouse likes and the things you like. I'm sure you know them. Now you have to consciously work at liking what your spouse likes. Because you love him. That's why you married him or her. The same way your husband or your wife has to consciously remember success is not accidental. Happiness is a deliberate choice. Compatibility is a choice. You want to find something in common with your husband or your wife, start working at it. Identify those things. You like football? I think we heard Prof. and Mrs. Ogbeche talking about how they do things together. I can also tell you what we do together here. People who have attended some of our seminars or retreats know that I always say I don't like dancing. But I became a disc jockey because my wife enjoys music. She dances. So for her sake, well, I have to gather some friends around me. So when I dance 2 steps, and they call it, what do they call my dance again?
White man dance.
It's a white man dance. When I do my white man dance finish, I look for somebody to keep her dancing. But you know, my dear, that is the beauty of marriage. It gives you that opportunity to consciously do something for the happiness and joy of your spouse. And when you see them happy, you also become happy. You know, it's contagious. Your happiness now encourages the other one to do more. And you find that love grows, you become more united. And therefore, you are nurturing love in each other. Remember, it's a virtue. The more you habitually do those good things that your spouse enjoys, he also wants to reciprocate. And sooner or later, the bond is stronger and love flows from one party to the other almost effortlessly. So there's nothing wrong about not being compatible. Indeed, I say you have an opportunity to become more compatible, to grow in love. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I need to thank all the panelists at today's session for giving very simple and practical solutions to the complex problems in these questions that we've seen. And to thank Professor Chris and Lady Rose Ogbeche for joining us in today's program. And of course, yeah, thank you for joining. And of course, Henry Andor for bringing his own dimension that it was quite exciting to us here too.
Thank you.
Okay, and of course, our landlords and landladies, Sir and Mrs. Laura Sezwa, thanks for all the advice. Now, I thought by today we'll be done with questions, but I see that the question box is still pouring with more questions. We have close to 50 new questions. I thought we had cleared off the back. So I would say that we have an online course starting up in a few weeks' time. So if you should try get registered in that program. On your screen, you can see the content of the course. There are 3 levels, and the registration link is also showing there on the screen. So be the first to get a seat at this online course, and then many of these questions will be answered during this online program. The registration link is there. You go there, you register, secure your seat, and then let the show continue. Also, we would like to know how we are doing. So you will have a link to a feedback form that you just give us a feedback, because we want to improve on the way we are creating impact in building better families, better businesses, and better society. So have a great day. I remain yours sincerely, Charles Aibona. You will get the recording of these videos sent to you today by email. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everybody.
Yes,
Bye.
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 to wait until the